in Goa right now. So, firstly, I want to, welcome you to this talk show that I'm holding. And I'm so grateful that you agreed to talk to me. I'm going to start right at the beginning of life on Earth, just survival of the fittest, maybe.
So, going to beginning of time or life on Earth, and if you with reference to human beings, it was not possible for human beings to live on this planet till the earlier levels of
Hmm.
our food chain were established. And so we have heard from evolution how the single celled people are having that food today also, spirulina, the freshwater algae,
Hmm.
right? From that basic unit of nutrition, it started building up, and more slowly, the plant kingdom started coming up in more complexity and taller plants with different mechanisms of multiplication through their fruits and seeds and all of that. And it was only possible when a certain minimum degree of nutrition was available on the planet that beings more like human beings, okay, or our ancestors, let's say the apes, or what they evolved from, uh, they could only come later. So in that progression, human beings have
Yeah.
come. And starting with human beings from the time we were getting nutrition on this planet. In my book, Become Healthy or Extinct, there's a chapter called The Five Elements Therapy.
Okay.
And human beings in their first forms were living much more on the five elements directly that are present in nature. And they actually needed lesser food. So the five elements that I talk of in the book to make it more scientific and experiential also, because when you talk of something, it cannot be just left as philosophy.
Hmm.
People find it difficult to experience, so you need to give them some experiments. And when they do the experiments and they go through it and get the experience themselves, then they know what you are talking about, and it becomes real. So. So the five elements, as we all know from ancient Ayurveda, are earth, water, fire, air, space, and they are contained. So if you look at earth, you can talk about the earth element, soil. If human beings have to get the earth element, it would be standing bare feet, and that's how human beings were earlier. And till date, besides this human species, there is no other species on this planet who wears footwear or insulates their body from the earth. They are all still barefoot
Hmm.
or bare bodied, if you call a snail or an earthworm.
Yeah.
Um, and then the next element is water.
Hmm.
So when I say the natural water, human beings in cities, we are not having natural water anymore. It is chlorinated water that does not contain any microorganisms, which are, you know, for example, the bacteria that make different nutrients in our body, like vitamin B12. So city people are not drinking real water at all. The real water is available here in the village. That's why I left my Mumbai home 10 years back to come and experience real life. Uh, yeah, because when you don't experience real life and you experience a different version of the five elements, your body becomes different. The natural sciences disappear, and then you suddenly have science coming out of laboratories and
Yeah.
out of colleges, and they work in unnatural environments. So that's why we have so much of fake science in the world. And the evidence of fake science is the, the reality of the degree of sickness on this planet.
Right.
Everybody's trying to fix you and trying to say science is getting more and more by making more and more chemical based medicines and trying to inject things into your body by micro sciences which are not really required. So when you come back to nature and live over there, there's nothing that you require of modern medicine.
Yeah.
It's all natural medicine and natural food.
Hmm.
So I was at the second element of water.
Right.
So all other species on the planet would live in the wild,
Hmm.
right? They are drinking stream water, pond water, river water. So that's what the natural element of water. Then fire. The fire element comes from the sun.
Right.
Now, we already know city-based people are lacking in vitamin D.
Yeah.
So it is evident we are not getting enough of the sun element also.
Yeah.
Then the next two elements are air and space.
Mm.
Yeah. You have evidence there also. People from Delhi and Bombay are running away from their cities because they can't even breathe that air.
Yeah.
It's so polluted and unhealthy. And the only real pure air is available in the jungles and the forests or in some villages.
Right.
And finally, it's the space element.
Yeah.
Now, the space element is,
When you say
yes,
space, you mean ether.
yeah, so space around you, that's called ether. There is space element even inside your body, right? That is why food can flow because if
Mm.
everything was blocked up,
Mm.
you could put your food inside, it would not go down. So in our body, in our digestive system, within our cells also there is space because if there's no space, no relative movement can happen.
Correct.
So we have the space element within the cells of our body, within the body, and all around us.
Right.
And in my book, I have written about three levels of science.
Mm.
If you have the capacity and the tools or the mechanism to work at those level of science, you can get science or reality out of them. And one is the what I call the microcosmic level of existence.
Mm.
Okay, so for that you need to work with a microscope, and so you will see the cellular structure, microorganisms, and all of that. But if you don't have a microscope in your house, you can work at the macrocosmic level of energy. A macrocosmic is the level of our five senses. That's what I explain in the book, where you will know through feeling that how your gut is doing or whether you're having a problem in your digestive system. You know whether you have a backache or eye problems and all of that. So, and the megacosmic level is the higher the level of around the earth, and that you can experience in meditative experiences. So that's what some yogis work with, what they call higher energy or cosmic energy or energy around the earth, the stratosphere. So what's happened is that's where human beings, that was our foundation.
Yeah.
How we came up from the earth, we were used to the pure five elements on a daily basis. Walking bare feet, being almost bare bodied, okay, breathing proper air, drinking, uh, groundwater.
Yeah.
And the space element, for an experience of what space element is, you can take anybody who is, at a workplace, sitting in closed cubicles, most of the day, and they will feel a certain kind of energy.
Mm.
But if you take them and just put them on top of a mountain top,
Mm.
within 5 minutes, they have a different experience of the energy expanding and expands, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what's happening. That human beings, the way we have designed our homes to be so cluttered and all that, we are not getting enough of space around us for our aura to expand
Mm.
and be healthy and interact with the rest of the elements around us.
Correct. So,
So that is what I'll say is where we started off, human beings on this planet, having more of the finer five elements, and they became our nutrition.
yeah.
And that time we required very less physical food.
Mm.
Okay, because physical food, right from your mother's breast milk, it has also got the five elements. Everything around us,
Yeah.
everything on this earth and
Yeah.
above it also is the five elements.
Right.
So if you take mother's milk, the highest element is water. Then and next proportion, okay, the proportion of the next element is earth.
Mm.
Because how do we know that? If you have a scientific bend of mind and you look that yes, from the milk, the magnesium, the calcium, all of those minerals are going into the bones. So it does have such hard, earthy element. So there's uh,
Water.
water, then there's earth, then fire, air, space. Fire, we come to know when people who drink have a lot of milk, it causes acidity, so it's got a fire component also in it.
Right.
And then air and space is lesser. Okay,
Right.
if you take a groundnut, a raw groundnut,
Mm.
right, it's got the most earth element. But if you
Right.
take it and you squeeze it on a table hard, a raw groundnut, you'll get oil from it. So there's the water element in it. If you
Yes.
eat too much of groundnuts, you may get a little bit of acidity. So there's fire element in it. Okay. So everything is made of the five elements,
Elements.
and
Yeah.
we are also composed of that. Whatever we take in as nutrition is also the five elements.
So
So we
that,
started off,
yeah, please
yeah.
go
So we
ahead. Please.
started off. So we started off like that with more nutrition or the subtler elements. The five elements, and that was when we were living in natural, surroundings.
Yeah.
And then finally, we came into the city. We started wearing footwear, and we lost the earth element. One by one, the elements we started losing. Earth element, some of the earth element gone with footwear. The purity of the water element to nourish us had gone down. There's a water machine. It's called, it's one of the world's best drinking water machines, and it's called the Kangen water. And it makes micro clustered water. That means the molecules of the water are much smaller than what you get in your tap, and they are much more hydrating. This is what it's called, the electrical charge of spring water. Okay, so everybody,
What's
our
it?
eyes are not.
What's it called? Sorry, Kengen.
It's Kangen, Kangen.
Kangen. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I had
Please go ahead.
researched it. Yeah, I had researched it for about 10 years, and then then I bought a machine myself.
Oh.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, the water that's there in nature is much more small. There are much smaller particles, and they hydrate the human body much better. That means you'll need a less of well water or spring water to nourish you. To give you the water element, than you would need, your normal tap water. Because as tap water goes into taps, it gets more charged, then the molecules start clubbing. So you get bigger molecules of water that don't hydrate the cell properly.
So imagine
So
people like us who drink, mineral water, Bisleri. I mean, I don't know what we are doing. No wonder we are so full of acidity and so full of. I mean, there's
yes,
so many ailments. Even the air we breathe in causes acidity, I believe.
yeah, the point that I was making is that as we go and live in the city, we start cutting off the elements from us. Okay, so by footwear, some of the earth element is gone. Then the air element is so bad. Our water element is not real water. Then we don't get enough of sunlight. We're living in concrete boxes with air conditioning, and the air conditioning, the humidity is so low that it starts extracting, humidity from your own body. And it deprives the human body of humidity.
Correct.
Um, so as we get, a city life is a life robbed of the natural elements, and then the only compensation is physical food to take, you know, different forms of physical food to make up for that deficiency. And unfortunately, in the cities, people are not getting access to natural food. Okay, so natural or organic, what you call, fruits and vegetables and pulses and all of that. They are getting processed and foods which are bring in another degree of toxicity, and they cause toxicity to your digestive organs or supportive organs also, like the liver and gallbladder and the kidneys. Uh, because from your food, all the toxicity gets into the blood, and your blood is supplied to the gallbladder, liver, kidneys, and that's how they become toxic. Um, so that's the state where we arrive now.
So, what
In
does somebody who has to live in the city? What do they do? I mean, they have no choice. They have to eat those vegetables. Even if they are vegetarians, they have to eat those vegetables which are washed on the roadside, which may be injected, which may be, there's no choice. So, what do these people do? What can and is this the cause of these? There's so much of the disease, other than COVID, cancer,
yes,
and
cancer.
so many lifestyle diseases that are so rampant.